Not so long ago, Paris was the breeding ground for an unholy cocktail consisting of human waste, blood, and corpses. Amidst the French Revolution, the city was ankle-deep in a revolting substance that would be considered a biological weapon by today's standards. The streets were painted red by butchers and executioners alike, and the smell was putrid and inescapable. Before Napoleon's reforms to the sewer system, most people relied on chamber pots to relieve themselves. These containers were then emptied out into the streets, often accompanied by a customary warning cry of "Garde à l'eau." Despite the warning, the odd passerby would occasionally suffer the misfortune of being drenched in human waste. Some buildings had cesspools, but due to the rapidly growing population, poor construction quality, and lack of maintenance, these would often overflow onto the streets, especially after rain. The resulting thick mixture flooded the streets, attracted pests, and infected freshwater sources. Adding to the waste, blood was omnipresent in the city. Both humans and animals were routinely slaughtered, creating pools of blood in public spaces. In public squares like Place de la Révolution, executions were a daily affair, drawing crowds as much as they did blood. The severed bodies were left to bleed out while heads rolled. Meanwhile, butchers carried out their tasks. Unregulated, killing animals on the streets, leaving behind entrails and blood to mingle with the human fluids, creating a putrid sludge that solidifies and rots. The stench was so potent that it was said to cause fainting. The French Revolution racked up thousands of bodies due to executions, riots, and massacres. It was too much for the morgues to handle, and they quickly overflowed. Delayed burials were commonplace, and the bodies had to be piled up in carts and left to rot in the streets. During the September massacres of 1792, between 1,100 and 1,400 prisoners were killed, their bodies tossed into ditches, piled up in corners, or carelessly thrown out to the streets. Scattered limbs and bloody torsos remained in public view for days, attracting flies and scavengers. The stench of rotting flesh mixed with excrement and butcher's waste made entire neighborhoods unlivable. The amount of garbage littering the streets was staggering. The city lacked a functional waste collection system, so people resorted to dumping their household waste, expired food, and other items into the streets. Markets, especially, were responsible for a large part of the organic waste, discarding spoiled produce, rotting meat, sour milk, and moldy bread in public places. Garbage accumulated in piles or flowed with the rain into side streets, where it fermented in the summer heat. The stench of rotting vegetables, curled dairy, and decomposing meat joined the mix of human waste and blood to form a nearly unbearable atmosphere. The stinking heaps also served as breeding grounds for flies and nests of rodents. The endless supply of refuse, blood, and decomposing matter turned revolutionary Paris into a paradise for vermin, rats, thriving in cesspools and garbage heaps, dashing across homes, markets, and corpse piles. They chewed rotting flesh, contaminated food supplies, and spread plague, typhus, and dysentery through their fleas and droppings. Stray dogs and cats, often driven to desperation, scavenged from the same piles. They dragged body parts into alleys, fought over entrails in the streets, and tracked the disease on their paws and fur. The combination of blood, feces, garbage, and decomposing corpses created a perfect ecosystem for disease. With no public sanitation, no pest control, and no separation between living spaces and waste, illness spread rapidly. Epidemics were not an occasional event, they were the constant backdrop to revolutionary life.